evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sports Exchange. We have the fountain of youth here. When I mean the fountain of youth, oh, do we really have the fountain of youth? We welcome the youngest person ever to be on this show. His name is JJ Metz, METZ, not relation to METS, the team that's not in the playoffs. All right, I'm sure he's glad
Taking
about
my
that.
jokes.
And come on, well, you'll have plenty of time to school up yours in, but you weren't getting this one in. And before I let JJ introduce himself, welcome back, Jacob.
How you doing tonight? And JJ, it's good to have you here, buddy.
And we have Candy Ebeling.
Glad to have you, JJ. Welcome to the crazy group.
And we got George Eichhorn, who's got more lives than Morris.
Hey, what's going on, everyone?
All right, and Marvin Paul, my fullback, and my latest pupil, who's got a book that'll be on the way, probably hopefully in the next few days. So now that we got
JJ,
the address by email, you're going to get it.
And I've already done my
just
duty.
think of it this way. If you ever want to play for the Mets one day, take a look at George. He's actually just 25 years old. You know, that's what you look like after you play for the Mets.
You know what George is saying? Why is everybody always picking on me? All right, go ahead. What are you going to say?
3-3. At least three of us have caps on. We protect ourselves, our heads. Okay, JJ, you're still young enough.
I protect mine too. Look at us.
Yeah, all right,
Well,
George.
you know I love you, George. You know that.
That one didn't go anywhere.
Marvin, you have some words of wisdom for the little man?
Listen, I've already done my duty as an SC alumni. I've been recruiting him since my first word to him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on campus.
Oh,
4
look,
years.
there you go. All right, JJ, you got a lot of options, and we do too. Let's get this bad boy rolling up with the NFL. The first meeting between Ben Johnson, who is 39 years of age, and Pete Carroll, 74, is in the books. The fun fact is that head coaches in their 30s are 21-15-1 all time against each other, against head coaches in their 70s. The Bears obviously defeated the Raiders 25-24, and in this game, obviously, you can just take that 21-15 and make it 22-15. Also, another side note: Geno Smith had led the NFL in interceptions with 4. That was about a couple of weeks ago when they were 1-1 with 1 TD versus 4 interceptions. Well, let's go ahead and modify that stat, okay? Because now Geno Smith currently leads the NFL with 7 interceptions. Smith, 34, has 3 interception games. That's in weeks 2 and 4. So, all right, JJ, we'll let you start this topic off. What are your thoughts about young versus old?
Yeah, first off, Scott, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for everyone for the kind words at the beginning. As you just mentioned, Geno Smith leads the NFL in interceptions, and he hasn't been his best. And we saw it at Seattle. We've seen it here. He's really nothing special. He can manage a game well, but so far this season, he's struggled to protect the football and turned it over a lot. And as you mentioned, the young versus old matchup between Pete Carroll with the Raiders and then against the Bears. And I thought that the Bears played a pretty solid game. Came down to the wire there overall. Ashton Genty has been very solid in the run game for the Raiders, and I think that's helped them out a lot and kept them into the game. He had that very long rush for a touchdown there, and they got a really good draft pick in him from Boise State. But through the receiving game, Geno's not getting the help he has, and I think that's the difference between the two. Caleb Williams being able to find DeAndre Swift out of the backfield multiple times and have that guy he can trust. So overall, I think, the age comparison of young versus old, they're both head coaches. Yes, the game has changed from the start to now, but, I think that we can really just see that it doesn't really matter in terms of age.
Very good. I know one thing that don't matter about your age is you're a bright kid, man. Starts off at 10. He's 4 years in the business at 14. What's up, Kneecap Biting? This is the newest pupil in the program. All right, Marvin.
Yeah, JJ said it. Definitely Gentry in the run game needs to show up, and he had a good game last week in regards to numbers. But I think he started off slow and that hasn't helped Geno at all. 7 interceptions is not how you get it done. Pete Carroll he's big on turnovers. You know, when he took over the job at USC, in his first meeting with the players, the first thing he addressed over everything was how important it is for us to have the ball. With that said, you can look for a QB change if this keeps up, because in a 17-game season, it's so long that you can start off slow and things happen, and you have some momentum second half of the year. So regardless of how it looks, what the numbers may say, the odds may be, the truth is with so many games left, there's still life. Seven picks this early in the season. Geno's going to have a much better performance in the next game. In regards to the comparison between young coaches and old, I mean, listen, Pete Carroll's an old school guy. He wants to play traditional football, run that ball. Ben Johnson's out there with the number 1 overall draft pick, Caleb Williams, who at this point is on pace to be one of the most successful number 1 overall draft picks of all time, in that through his first 21 games, he has 21 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, which is the best of all the quarterbacks who've been drafted number 1. So, this is a guy, Ben Johnson's out here. They're throwing the ball a little bit, but obviously trying to run it behind their running back. That's similar to Pete Carroll in regards to the old school mentality. But yeah, the biggest thing here, the biggest difference between these guys is the quarterback that they have. And Geno's 7 picks is not good for my man Pete Carroll.
No question about it. All right, George.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add. I mean, I'm not a big guy on age versus youth, but they do have what'd you say, Scott, 22 to 15 advantage now, the young coaches, when they meet up with the elder ones. Those are both good guys. Of course, Johnson is brand new as a head coach in the NFL, and he does have a very good quarterback there. I don't know, Geno Smith. They fall off. These veteran quarterbacks, they cannot maintain consistency a lot, and he's got to cut down on the intercepts. No question about it. They cannot continue with that. The Raiders, it's been a sad situation out there for years and years, whether they're in Oakland or in Las Vegas. But all this to say, Carroll's a good coach, but they got to turn this thing around. And I agree with you, Marvin. If Geno's not the man, you got to start looking on that depth chart, and you got to start thinking about a change. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah, it's just about time. You better trade for Kirk Cousins, even if you're dealing with that contract. Seriously, because by itself, I will say this: he is not a Super Bowl quarterback, but you can't have, especially with Janty running like that. You can't blow the game with 3 interceptions like that. And they really did. They really should have won that game. Good for the Bears. And yes, JJ, I am a Bears fan, as much as it drives me crazy sometimes. They had good for the Bears 2 in a row. I don't see that often. So it's that in truth, they don't ever have these games. Like the last game I saw that had gone completely wrong and then came back at the end was 2019 in Denver. That was the last one I ever saw. And that's been 6 years. So that doesn't ever go their way. So it's obvious Ben Johnson was the right choice. I love the guy. I already have, even with the first 2 losses. But overall, they're going to have to make the right decision on this whatsoever. They're going to have to just trade. Don't get another guy put in there, because truthfully, with that run game, they could get very, very dangerous with the way they have the run game going. And if they don't get it, and if they do the wrong thing whatsoever, they're going to lose certain players. And I can imagine Max Crosby being one of them. They can lose certain players that's going to just hurt their future for the longest time.
All right, Candy.
If you had told me at the beginning of this game that there would be 4 turnovers by the Raiders, that the quarterback ratings for both these quarterbacks for the end of the game were 73.3 and 73, that the Raiders would only lose by 1, I would have been like, are you kidding me? You had 4 turnovers and you only lose by 1? Like, it took the Bears that last drive, and they scored with a minute something left to win that game.
Yep.
that tells me that the difference there was Pete Carroll. That granted, they didn't win the game, but they overcame a lot of those turnovers to keep it close. Like that takes a lot. I mean, now, yes, they have Ashton Genty, 138 yards compared to Swift's 38 yards for the Bears. You know, these two teams are not that great, and I know some of you are real high on Chicago, but
Who says I'm high on Chicago? I was just telling you I was glad to win 2 in a row.
I know, but it was a total. The Bears had 271 total yards for the game.
I know.
We've listened to Scott. We were talking to somebody, and who was it? There was a team that had 450 yards in the first half. Like,
Right.
this is just, but kudos to the Bears for pulling it out and winning it.
Yeah, kudos. The one thing I'll say about the Chicago Bears in their history, they still have never had a 4,000-yard passer.
They will this year.
What's
You
that?
sure of that?
They will this year.
You sure of that?
Well,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
yeah, but they still haven't up to this point. I'm talking present tense.
Almost happened last year.
Well,
the only
Marvin, hey.
4,000 the only 4,000 it's going to be is the amount of colors he has for his fingernails.
Yeah, well,
Maybe
okay,
that. Maybe he will.
That might be true. That might
Maybe
be
he
true.
exactly. Yeah. Hey, that's not what we talk. I don't care.
Hey,
about
Jacob, the bottom line is they still haven't had it yet. And
I
don't
know,
worry
exactly.
about it. I get it. But the reality of the situation, Geno Smith is over the hill and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. And
Yeah.
that's as much of the singing as you're going to get until I see otherwise. Yes, Kirk Cousins might be the answer. But then again, with some of the quarterback goes around here, the Falcons might as well keep them and get whatever they can get for him now, because as the quarterbacks drop, you never know if his value goes up. A lot of more topics to get to. We're going to go down Eichhorn territory. We're going to talk religion. I never talk religion, but I will now. Now that I've got everybody's attention, the Chicago White Sox honor Pope Leo. Yes, we have a Pope sighting, everybody, by marketing seat from the World Series to be attended and that he attended in 2005 near Section 140 at Rate Field. Robert Prevost sat in row 19, seat 2. Unlike Bob Uecker way up there, if you want to see the Pope seat, go over to Rate Field and do that, because we have a Pope Leo Robert Prevost sighting thanks to the Chicago White Sox. All right, JJ. Well, what do you think about the Pope at Rate Field? And you're on mute until you get off of mute. I'll get a no comment. So you want to comment about the Pope having his place over at Rate Field?
Look, I'm not too familiar, with the White Sox, the whole history. What I'm aware of is that, they've been pretty terrible the last few seasons. All the fans in Chicago go to the Cubs games, and it's hard to watch them because they're always below 500, and they've been the most dysfunctional franchise in baseball the last 10 years. So in terms of the Pope in right field, I wasn't too aware of that. I did see that they had a few staff changes today, a new pitching coach, a new hitting coach, and a new catching coach, which were all made today, which is, at least they're getting some change done in the organization, but I don't have too much on the Pope, too much information.
Well, don't worry. I understand the nature of your age here, that this happened in, what was it, 2005. I'm dealing with a guy who probably wasn't even born then.
Yeah.
But yes, just to give you some information, it's okay. I told you on Saturday night that I was going to throw some different stuff out there. I get it, but the reality is they are honoring him. Okay, the word honor with a seat in that particular area that he attended the World Series, but that's okay. It's good that you gave us a White Sox update, because nobody would even want to do it, but the fact that you're sharp enough to follow it works for me. Okay, Marvin.
Yeah, I mean, the Pope is he's the most famous person in the world, I would think. So, and he has followers, and Chicago has a lot of Catholics, and I would think that if you could get near the seat or sit in the seat that he was in, that would be special. We live in a society where celebrity matters. I think you'd have the same reaction if Taylor Swift sat in that seat.
Sorry, that's gesture by the Sox. Okay, they have a lot more to do. All right, George.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll have more on this than anybody else, because I know that you definitely are an individual who does the right thing on Sunday, right,
Yes,
George?
yes, right. Thank you, Scott, for those kind words. I
Well, don't get
really,
used to them, but that's okay.
I really, really think that it's a great thing, not only for the Pope, but a great thing for the White Sox as well, because he's the first American-born Pope in history, and he's a baseball fanatic. He loves baseball. And so what the White Sox did was tremendous, and what an honor that they did. You bet there'd be a fight over those seats or get your picture taken next to the seat, that kind of stuff. And they presented him a bat too. I saw one photo of him getting a bat, and then also they flew in some pizza from Chicago. So all that to say, the White Sox don't have too much to cheer about these days, but I'm sure that it would be great if he does make a pilgrimage to the United States, and Chicago definitely has to be on his short list of cities to visit because they would turn out in mass. They would have a huge crowd. So it's all cool. It's good stuff, Scott. I like it.
Yeah, I figured you would. That has to be a point where I put a topic in here that you can relate to that doesn't mention Detroit, and this one definitely fit the bill. All right, Jacob, this one's in your city, so that
Sort
has a
of.
little sort of okay.
No, I mean, of course they would have to show up in mass. George, that's every Sunday. That's his job. They got to get all those people in mass. So no, no. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you this though. It's rate field only because he hasn't been there lately. It would be guaranteed rate field if he showed up again. So that's just the whole thing. But really by itself, I'll say this about the White Sox. I know who they switched up everything. I like Will. I like what Will Venable what he's done. I like what he's done with the team. They gained, I think, like 20 wins this year. I mean, you got to give that credit. They had about the same team as last year, so they were playing harder. So good for them on this. But really by itself, you got to realize there's 333 million people in the United States. 53 million are Catholic. So darn good well someone's going to go find that seat, and they're going to put all their beads there. They're going to put everything, any kind of oil. They're going to have all that stuff feel blessed. And there's going to be so many people going to that, and yes, it will catch some interest.
Candy,
He attended Game 1 of the 2005 World Series, which the White Sox won, ending an 88-year drought. He is a noted White Sox fan. He was elected back in May of 2025. He made a public Vatican appearance in June 2025, wearing a White Sox baseball cap. The team has honored him by creating a mural near his seat. And then they also did in June 2025, a celebration and mass were held at the White Sox ballpark to honor the new Pope. The Pope sent a video message during the event speaking to young people and emphasizing hope and faith.
there you have it. Our crack statistician, Candy. I'm just glad that they're doing something there. Went there for the World Series. You can honor them. More power to them. All right, we have a broadcasting note that I should talk about. It's just in time for the NBA. Terry Gannon joins NBC Sports NBA coverage as a play-by-play voice. Doc will have it. Do you know anything about this one, JJ?
I don't know.
No, it's okay. You'll get to know when you start watching the NBA. Because the one thing about the Wednesday Sports Exchange is there'll definitely be some more NBA topics. But I have some things that you'll recognize. But other people can probably talk about them. No big deal, JJ. Believe me, I have a lot of content built in here with your name on it. No big deal. All right, Marvin, what are your thoughts about Terry Gannon joining NBC coverage of the NBA?
Not. I can't say I know a lot about Terry. To be honest with you.
That's okay.
Yeah, I hope it's good commentary.
Yeah.
No problem. All right, George.
Terry Gannon, yeah, he's a very knowledgeable sportscaster. He's been around for quite a number of years. He does the figure skating at the Olympics all the time. Does a great
Right.
job with that. He was at the Ryder Cup. He did play-by-play along with Dan Hicks this past weekend for the Ryder Cup. And also he's done a lot of different things like football and basketball. I think it's a good move. He's a veteran. I'm not so sure how deep his knowledge is of the NBA, but I'm sure he's going to hone up on it. really in a deeper level. But yeah, he is one of those guys that's not like Al Michaels. He's not Jim Nance. He's not Mike Tirico at that level yet, but he's the next level down, if you want to say that. He's a good guy though. He doesn't rock the boat. He's not controversial. I think they'll like him.
Jacob.
Well, Terry Gannon is he's a golf guy. I mean, we said Ryder Cup. He's done a few more. He's done a bunch of others. In truth, this era. Even though we don't know him the way we knew a Pat Summerall, Vince Scully, all of those guys, we don't know him the same. This is this era's version because we have so many specialists now in the announcing booth. They only do basketball. They only do football. They only do this. That it's like he's kind of that guy who's done everything, like those guys I just mentioned. So here's the thing. I'm not going to turn my back on him, or I'm not going to say I don't know. We're going to see, because I can talk about everything. And it's like that's just the thing. It's like I study everything to talk about everything. He can study everything to be able to talk about it. So, I mean, let's just see how good he does.
Candy?
So he's going to share NBA play-by-play duties with Mike Tirico and Noah Eagle. Yes, he has, and it's 11-year media rights deal with the NBA, October of 2025. He's a versatile broadcaster known for his work in golf and Olympic coverage since joining NBC Sports in 2010. Also, he has a background in basketball as he was a player on the 1983 North Carolina State Championship team and has previously called Big Ten men's basketball for the network. So he has a basketball background because he played it. So he should be able to call it and do play-by-play.
Absolutely. That's impressive.
And by the way, JJ, I know you can fit in with this one. Noah Eagle went to Syracuse University. That tells me I know you got your head on straight. So if you know anything about Syracuse University because you're going out there and planning on going there, Noah Eagle there. And let me tell you, this guy is somebody I knew about the North Carolina connection. So I knew about the name. I didn't know about him as much as everybody else has, but NBA is really on NBC is going to be a really good watch. I think they're bringing in some big names, and Terry is just another example of what they're trying to do to be committed to that sport. All right, so let me ask you a question, JJ. Do you know much about Inter Miami and soccer?
No, I can't say I do.
Well,
Other
don't
than the
worry.
Messi.
Well, I'll tell you, if you learn about it, I might have connections down there. But I tell you what, here's what we're going to put out there. Inter Miami's $1 billion stadium will debut in 2026. Freedom Park Stadium is scheduled to open for the 2026 MLS season. And let's see, you never know. If you learn a little bit about soccer, although I know you have your eyes set on other things, talk to me. We'll see if I can get you credentialed there. I don't care if you have Lionel Messi or not. I'm sure they're definitely looking for good coverage at Inter Miami. What are your thoughts about the fact that they are building a new soccer stadium in Miami, knowing that they could attract some good type of events over there, JJ?
Yeah, so the majority of the population in South Florida is in the city of Miami. And right now, the stadium is located in the northern Fort Lauderdale area, which means that most of the population has to drive up, 45 minutes north. And that's not ideal for most fans. Therefore, I think it's a very good idea that they're building a stadium right in the heart of Miami because it's more accessible for fans to be able to go. And, the atmosphere was wild in North Fort Lauderdale, but just imagine what it's going to be in the heart of Miami. You're going to get all the diehard fans there. However, I also think it's good for some of those fans who live in Fort Lauderdale because it isn't that far south too. So if you are a diehard, you can still make a trip. It's not like they're moving to a completely different city like the Chargers did from San Diego to Los Angeles. This is just a minor 35-minute switch. So I think it's a great decision by the organization because you're going to have a bigger and better fan base. And now your actual team can represent the city you play in because Inter Miami is now going to be in Miami.
Great point, JJ. Okay. Marvin?
Genius. I think it's really smart Miami, South Florida, Latin capital of the world. People love soccer. I think JJ hit it right on the head. I think you're going to have big turnout, big fan base, outstanding business move. I'm not myself not a big soccer guy, but I lived in South Florida for 15 years, and I know that there are people. I was there for two World Cups in the time of two World Cups that were held elsewhere, but I saw how the city came together when it was World Cup. And I tell you what, man, those fans out there are going to be ecstatic, and that stadium is going to be rocking.
Well, I mean, I've been to a few matches over at the stadium that were Lockhart. It's a nice place for an 18,000 seat stadium. But the South Florida soccer scene goes back to the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. And I'm old enough to have covered that team back when I moved here in the early 80s. George Eichhorn?
Yes, I think it's a positive move too for the city of Miami. Soccer is extremely important in a lot of the southern states due to the large population of, the South Americans and the Central Americans, especially. They really, really, really love that sport. And anytime you can put the wherewithal together to have a stadium that's uniquely built for a sport such as soccer, it's a definite plus. It's a difficult, more harder to sell in a big stadium. But boy, oh boy, when they get in that sweet spot between 20 and 30,000, they build these stadiums. That's awesome, I think, for soccer. So good move, good move.
Candy?
So it's going to be a multi-use development. Let's face it. It's 25,000 seat stadium scheduled to open in spring of 2026. It's a 131 acre project that includes extensive public parkland, retail, restaurants, hotels, offices, tech spaces. And it's entirely, let me repeat that, it's entirely privately funded. No public funds were used to build this. And it's going to be a stadium that has a canopy roof. It's a two-tier seating bowl. Um, it's going to have over 500,000 square feet of retail, restaurants, and entertainment venues. So it's not just going to be for Miami. It's going to be for people to come from all over to come stay at the hotels. You spend their money there. Kudos to Inter Miami for it to be privately funded, because we've heard so many people have so many problems when somebody doesn't want to fund this, or they don't want to be involved with that, and so kudos that they're doing it privately funded. And I think it's going to be close to the airport, so it's not far. There are there's a lot of worse areas of Miami you could put it in. So I think it's going to be really good for Miami and for Inter Miami.
Jacob?
Oh, it's a brilliant idea. Brilliant. Because here's one thing that people don't realize, and you guys all brought up the stats just now. Think of this. In a few years, now, not now for obvious reasons, but when new climates change, political climates, whatever change, all that kind of stuff, wherever and whoever it might be, who's about 90 miles away from Miami?
Cuba?
You got it. You got it. Imagine that friendly. Imagine that friendly match. That's the thing about it, and the craziness, because Cubans would be coming here too. Cubans
Right.
to United States to the thing. Just imagine that. I'm just saying this based off of the. Thank you very much for catching that one. Just there's little thing like this whatsoever. It's in Miami. We're not even going to have the South American thing. It's like all the other South American countries are so far away. This one is just nothing as far as distance. The main thing about it is just political climate. So there's something you could really play on if that ever changes, whichever way it goes.
Yeah, well, let me tell you this. Number one, a lot of people thought the Miami Marlins were an ideal fit for Miami as well. The problem is the parking there limited to garages. I think it's a lot more space to park over at Freedom Park as well. I don't think you have that problem. But the baseball in the Latin community has done well, and especially when you look at the World Baseball Classic about what they've done. So I think there's no question Inter Miami. I see what they've done in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, and you have David Beckham behind the whole thing as well, and they spend money to put a good product on there. So I don't think there'll be any problem with Inter Miami being able to draw 25,000 with the amount of money that Inter Miami does put on there as well. All right. Well, with that said, the Big Ten announces that Michigan and USC will kick off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on October 11th. Well, Marvin, we'll start off with you. We've seen some interesting times with USC in the last few weeks. This one appears to be a little bit more normal than most.
Yeah. We had a 11 p.m. kickoff. We had a kickoff that had a 3.5 hour delay. We had a kickoff that was at 9 a.m. Pacific. So this is, a little bit normal. Hopefully, and it's going to be in Los Angeles, so our guys don't have to travel. And I tell you what, this is a big game for USC, a big game for Lincoln Riley. We have a bye this week. We're coming off a horrible loss. Michigan has a young, dynamic stud quarterback behind a big offensive line and two big running backs. And Shamar Moore's back from his suspension now. So they have a big one this week against Wisconsin. But yeah, I'm happy to have a normal kickoff time, somewhat normal, and give our guys a chance to have their bodies be normal and set and adjusted properly, so we can go out there and kick that Wolverine butt.
Well, Marvin, you and I agree on just about everything, but I have a feeling we ain't going to agree on this one. But that's okay. I understand it. I appreciate it. I know you represent the Trojan colors real well.
What are you talking about?
Right. That's okay. It'll be interesting to watch. The best part about it is I get to watch it without having to record it, because Candy and I have a weekend free of no football that we have to go anywhere. That'll be good enough for us. No Miami, no FAU. We have a weekend off. All right, JJ, what are your thoughts about the USC Michigan game being at a time where we can actually watch it? I don't know. Is FAU at home that weekend? I don't think they are.
Yeah, Marvin said it perfectly. FAU will be hosting UAB that weekend. Pretty sure about that one. But yeah, I think Marvin said it all. The kickoffs with the Big Ten, now when you have to travel to a 3-hour different time zone with the new look Big Ten, it definitely can affect some of these kids and the time that they have to wake up and practice in the morning and go through walkthroughs. So that's definitely different, and it's definitely great that they actually can start at a normal time. As for the game itself, this is a very pivotal game for both teams. Both teams already have a loss on their season already. And for USC, I think you could argue it's more important for them, because Lincoln Riley, there are a lot of questions on him heading into the season. So far this season, the loss to Illinois wasn't the best, although they kept it close. And they have the number 1 recruiting class in the country. So they got to keep winning these games to keep that class, to make sure they sign. And then as for the team itself, Jaden Mayava, if they start winning games, maybe you could keep him for a senior year where he won't go to the draft and want to come back, so he could win a college national championship. So it's very important for those reasons. And USC, they haven't really lived up to expectations the last couple years under Lincoln Riley. After Caleb Williams' first year, it hasn't been that good for them. The Miller Moss year last year, the year 2 years ago where they went 8-5. As for Michigan, Marvin said it perfectly. Bryce Underwood, young quarterback, he has struggled though throughout the season. He hasn't been perfect like his recruiting ranking says, as him being a 5-star number 1 in the country. But we know what Michigan's going to do. They're going to lean on the run game. Justice Haynes is one of the best running backs in the country, and when he gets outside on the perimeter, you really can't stop him. He has a lot of speed, and it's really hard to tackle him. So they're going to want to go to him. That's going to be their game plan, and it's going to be up to USC's front 7 to stop the run. As for the receivers, Michigan hasn't been all that good in the receiver game. Samaj Morgan has a few drops on the year already, which has been problematic. Look for Bryce Underwood to use his dual threat ability, get outside the pocket, maybe use his legs if no one's getting open. But overall, it's going to be a really interesting matchup, and it's great to see it start out in normal time frame.
Hey, George, can I ask you a question? Do you know this much?
How do you follow that?
Yeah, I can't
Great
follow
take,
that.
JJ.
Thank you.
JJ, you're really on top of this situation. I applaud you, congratulate you. As far as you, Mr. Powell, you know what you were getting into when you joined the Big Ten, okay? So don't give me any song and dance about 11 o'clock starts. Well, how do you think our Michigan State fans felt waiting till 11 p.m. to start that game out last Saturday or the night before, the week before?
I
So
hear you.
now they're in prime time, 7:30. That's good. It's 4:30 your time.
No
Hopefully
excuse.
you guys will be ready to roll. I mean, this was what Oregon and all these teams and UCLA and USC, this is what the consequences were going to be. And that's unfortunate. I understand, but you still got a good team, Marvin, and it'll be a hell of a game. It really will be. So we'll be watching it and intently. And I really think that you guys are going to bounce back. I just hope it's not against Michigan.
We'll see, man.
All right, Candy.
Scott, just so you're aware, yes, Florida Atlantic is home on that Saturday. They are playing at 6 o'clock against UAB, just so you're aware. But
Okay.
as far as Michigan, USC, well, let's hope. I can only hope that Michigan would be upset with losing to Wisconsin this weekend to make the matchup even more meaningful going out to USC. Now, do I think that's really going to happen? No, but hey, I can dream, right?
Oh yeah.
But,
I'm a little fickle on that thought.
Oh, I'm a whole lot. Yeah, we won't
That's
go
right.
there.
Yeah, that's right. I have the Green Bay Packers Detroit Lions version of it on Saturday with Candy. It'll be interesting on this place. So that'll be all right, but that's okay. Go ahead, Jacob.
Oh, something when the USC's and when the USC's and all of them from that to the time went to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I worried about the Big Ten because they really don't have any enormous. I mean, I'm just saying high flying offenses like these Pac-12s or Pac-15 or 25 or whatever amount of number they had for that
right.
point. It's like they didn't have that high flying offense. But I also missed something. What I saw from the Illinois USC game, Illinois beat the tar out of them physically. They did. And it's like, and then I saw, and I'm just saying, it's like, just seeing, even though I'm just saying this is just an all Big Ten idea of BLG, Iowa and Indiana was a tremendous physical matchup. I was just saying that Indiana barely survived it. And it's like, and these are the kind of teams. These are the kind of teams USC has to face. I have to remember that part when I was worried about the high fly and stuff. They're not used to that kind of beating. The UCLAs, the USC, they're not used to that kind of beating. It's like they've had one side overall, and Michigan is going to give it to them again. Now, here's the thing: does that mean USC won't win? I mean, I'm not going to say that either. They're a good team. There's definitely not Miller Moss out there, but the biggest situation, and I agree with you, JJ. No, no. The biggest situation you have by this whatsoever is USC finally has to learn to kind of toughen up, because if they can't beat Illinois, and Illinois is a good team now, but if they can't, and Michigan's another level. If they can't beat them, they might have a long day.
Well, the only thing I'll say about this is I'm going to go back to what George said a little bit, and that's this. They signed up to come into Big Ten. That's one thing about the travel. But remember, when they played in the Rose Bowl, they were playing on a neutral surface, and many of those games were in Southern California, and UCLA and USC had prohibitive home field advantages. Any team on the West Coast had their West Coast over there. This is a different animal. You come east, you play in snow, and you play in bad weather. You go west, you're not playing in the Rose Bowl. You're playing in their place with packed houses. So there's a lot of different variables. And George, you were kind of working around it. Now I'm behind you on this one. The USC and Michigan play, this is a regular season conference game. There's a lot more when you're playing a conference game against a good conference, okay, let alone the one that was a high-flying affair over at the Pac-12. That was a different animal. So you're right in the ballpark, Icorn. Just wanted to try to get you over the top on this one. to realize that regular season versus a bowl game is a totally different animal. With that said, let's stay on the Wolverines for a moment. No Wolverines game last Saturday, no problem, as Zach Bryan made history drawing over 112,000 fans to Michigan Stadium, aka the Big House in Ann Arbor, for the largest ticketed concert in U.S. history, surpassing the previous record of 107,019 set by the Grateful Dead in 1977. No relation to Puber Robber. Okay, the Grateful Dead. You can't put them in the same category. So Puber Robber, you're the ungrateful dead. So with that said, George, okay, that's
Hi.
one big crowd,
Oh
112,000.
gosh. Oh, you're not kidding, Scott.
We talked about this once that this was going to actually take place in the big house. I wanted to follow up with it here tonight and be able to put an attendance mark by it. Zach Bryan was a big success for the Wolverines financially, as well as a great night's entertainment for those that went there. All 112,000. Go ahead, George.
Well, yeah, and it was a very well managed event as well, too. Thank goodness we didn't have any big incidents happening, and I know I'm not going to get into that, but the crowd management was spectacular. It was over the top. What I heard, I did not go to the concert. And again, let's not forget that the Big House hosted the New Year's Day game against Toronto and Detroit way back in the day. They're used to big crowds. They're used to big crowds, but they're not used to this concert crowd, the country music lovers. But it turned out great. It really did. And I say to myself, you waited how many years to have a big concert like this? But that's okay. It finally happened. And kudos to Michigan and the security and everybody in in that area of making this a great event.
Marvin?
Yeah, in this day and age, we thank God that you can have that many people out, and it's just about having a good time and there's no drama. I believe I also read that they did like $5 million in merch in the stadium at the concert.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
they did $5 million in merch, which that's insane when you think about that. But hey, they had a great event and they made a lot of money.
Sure. All right. What are your thoughts, JJ? That's a lot of people. How many games would it take for FAU to come up with 112,000?
I would estimate it at 12,000 a game. So 10 FAU games, 100, yeah, 12,000, 120. Yeah, so 100% agree with both Marvin and George there. And as someone who witnesses this in firsthand, and as someone who's still in school right now, when my friends they listen to one or two people, Zach Bryan or Morgan Wallen, country music is really the main thing now. 3-4 years ago, everyone listened to rap, Drake, Kendrick, but now everyone's starting to listen to country music. So I'm not surprised. And Zach Bryan's had a few good hits. So the Big House obviously has the name for the reason. It can fill up a lot of stands. And as we could see, the country music Zach Bryan really was able to do that last Saturday on the bye.
Candy?
If you look back at history of the Michigan Stadium, the actual highest attendance was the Michigan versus Notre Dame football game on September 7th of 2013, where there was 109 fans. So that's the highest on-campus attendance for a college football game in NC2A history. So obviously they're used to big crowds. They have a big stadium. The one thing I would challenge the NFL, you go overseas to all these other stadiums, all these other places. How about playing a couple of them in these college stadiums, especially like Michigan Stadium? I would think it would be kind of cool to see the Lions play outdoors, home game, Michigan Stadium.
That would be interesting. Hey, once upon a time there was Tiger Stadium, but nothing like that at the big house. Good point, Candy. I like that creativity. There you go. Just catching on really good. Jacob.
115,109 in Michigan, right, against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Be glad it wasn't in Notre Dame because 100,000 would be priests. Wouldn't have enough room. But really, by itself, you're right about that, JJ. The country is kind of getting big, and these crowds are getting bigger. I mean, I'll just say this, George and Scott. Remember WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome? Some say 80,000, some say 93. But either way, that giant of a crowd. Either way, it beat. Either way, it's beat a concert and the Pope in within about a 2-week stretch. So it did that. But that was an enormous crowd, and now we hear these 100,000 person crowds all the time. Which, in truth, I love seeing it. But in truth, I really believe it was after COVID, and people are just like, no, we're not sitting in anymore. I truly believe that we're not sitting here anymore. It's like we're not, because it's like it's one of those where I think people took their freedom, not necessarily freedom from like politically, but freedom from like just being out of their house. I think they took it for granted big time, and it took 2 years to get out of it sometime. So people are just going to be going like crazy with these. You know what I'm saying? With going to these big stadiums, going to these big things. And there's more and more of these big stadiums are going to get built now over the years. So we're going to see these records fall.
Yeah, let alone on college campuses. They're building stadiums right and left.
Yeah.
I agree. I was just glad to see Michigan put on a show, and they definitely maximized the opportunity with Zach Bryan. We had brought it up on this network before. This was just a good opportunity to do an update. Well, you know what? With that said, we're going to go to our first non-sports topic of the night. Everybody's waiting for this. I know Marvin is salivating because what's he going to come up with? He got broken in the hard way with Charlie Kirk last week. I gave him something that no rookie would have survived except him on this show, and Marvin survived it. Good. This one's not so bad. There's two of them. We'll start with this one. Spirit Airlines filed bankruptcy for the second time in 2 years, says it will now shrink its fleet network in a bid to cut costs by hundreds at millions of shares, and have plunged more than 70% in the past month as losses piled up. I remember that Spirit Airlines is a popular airline. I used to fly from Fort Lauderdale to Detroit. Delta obviously has taken over. So with that said, Jacob, what are your thoughts about Spirit Airlines showing anything but spirit?
Remember the show Wings? Remember the show Wings way back when?
Yep.
I think Sandpiper's going to buy Spirit at this point. It is ridiculous. Right? No, the biggest thing about it is it's not a shock because we've had sports personalities that just that are around Facebook, that are around everything. I talk about going on Spirit and different areas. Like their first airplane ride would be Spirit and everything, and they get made fun of. Yeah, they get made fun of because it's Spirit and it's any of these low cost airlines, and it's like if that's the reaction, then yeah, we're gonna see a couple more. We're gonna see a Chapter 7 one before you know it, and then that's it. Then liquidation comes unless someone decides to buy it. I'm like, I don't know who wants that. Maybe Gordon Gekko.
Okay, Candy.
The carrier has been racing to slash cost and recently announced plans to cut 40 routes. They furloughed about 1/3 of its flight attendants. The airline is in talks with its pilots union and is seeking about $100 million in cuts from that group alone. Last month, Spirit said it was drawing down the entirety of its $275 million in its revolver. This is the second time in less than 12 months that it's filing for bankruptcy. I get the airline business is cutthroat and it's hard right now because a lot of people don't have the extra income to do a lot of flights. So a lot of people aren't taking some of those flights, or they're driving some of them because they just can't afford. So here's an airline that charges you for the little things because they're cheaper on the regular flights. I think they are based out of, down here, Fort Lauderdale, I think is one of their, because I know I've talked to some of the pilots before. I've met some of the pilots for Spirit. It's just sad because we all still like to go places. We all still need airlines. We all still need competition because you don't want there to be too few airlines out there, few choices, because that just drives the price up. So but something's got to be done because you can't keep bailing them out either.
George.
Yeah, and I wanted to add one other thing, Candy. When you mentioned about the NFL, the Detroit Lions did have several exhibition games at U of M Stadium way back in the day. I just wanted to make sure because I know that, but they never had a regular season game. I just wanted to share that with you. Spirit, I'll tell you what, I have met more people, friends and relatives alike, that do not speak well of Spirit on their flights from, as Scott mentioned, from Detroit to Florida. I've only flown them one time. They nickel and dime all their extra costs. I don't even think you get a bag of peanuts or whatever, a drink,
Well, that's
water anymore.
Southwest Airlines, George. They're the ones that gave the peanuts.
Well, okay,
But
but
that's okay. I would
Spirit
expect you
has
to get that one.
Spirit. Thank you. Spirit has a real problem with customer satisfaction. I'll just leave it at that.
Marvin?
Yeah, anybody who's ever flown Spirit, when they hear that headline, they're like, "I'm not shocked," because as everyone has said, you don't really understand what it is to fly a budget airline until you fly Spirit, and you see what a pain in the neck it is, and just how the customer experience is just not like a bigger carrier, let's say like Delta. It's just a night and day experience, and if you're willing to fly with no luggage. No need for water, no need for peanuts, no need for a seatbelt. Then go ahead and fly Spirit. But no, it's listen. There's like a lot of companies, man. They going down. It's tough. Everybody ain't traveling, and it's hard times right here for some of these people.
Hey, Marvin, I
Yeah.
wanted to tell you this. Let me say this. I heard a story about Tampa Bay years ago when they were first in the league, 76. They took an airline called McCullough Airlines, and the first time they got on the planes, the pilot was dealing with the wiring. And they was dealing with the wiring, and and it's like fiddling with it, and then they had to take off before they hit the water at the beach. And so
Wow.
that's how bad things was. And that still sounds better than Spirit.
Yeah.
I don't think Hugh Culverhouse would even deal with a Spirit.
That's Spirit before Spirit, man.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, one of my least favorite airlines is Frontier. I can't stand them. They talk about a ripoff. Candy and I both don't like to pay up the wing with them. And I know Southwest, I actually enjoyed them for a while. At least they were on time when I was flying them. Peanuts or not, I never cared. I'll take as many peanuts as they were willing to give me, and I'll just grab as many and sweet talk the stewardess into giving me a bunch. When I was doing it on my own, I put stuff in my pockets. When I had candy with me, I gave her a few extra peanuts because she put up with the show. And again, she always does. I don't know what airline changing that's flies. Me personally, I like to drive, but this Alzheimer's thing has put a cramp in my style getting behind the wheel. I will make it come back on the road. I just don't know when. But at least I know my co-pilot's there to bail me out. JJ, have you flown on many airlines yet?
Yeah, I have flown on a few airlines. I haven't flown on Spirit yet. And I'm pretty fortunate that I have, just based on the reputation. Me and my friends have a joke, and there's like this flight tracker that you have, and you have all these airlines: American Airlines, Delta, United, every airline, and there's a thunderstorm, and they all fly around the thunderstorm, and then Spirit flew right into the thunderstorm. And that's what I know about Spirit, which is that it has a bad reputation, and obviously the cuts show that people don't want to fly on that. But to me, no matter the service, a plane is a plane, and if you can get from one place to another, no matter the luxury, everything is the same as long as you land safely, and that's all that matters to me overall.
So, Scott, can I add a couple little things? So, Spirit's
go ahead.
competitors are considered United Airlines, Frontier Airlines, JetBlue Airways, and Allegiant Airlines. Spirit has struggled for years with an engine recall and a failed acquisition by JetBlue. And they are a Dania Beach, Florida-based airline, just so everybody's aware.
Well, yeah, that's why they fly a lot out of Fort Lauderdale. That's why we were able to take them for a while until their situations became what they did, and they become unbearable. Now I just fly Delta. But that said, I know George, we don't use my town much anymore because we have so many good topics. But I want to make Icorn feel a little bit at home when we come up with two before we hit a station break. A total of 2,413,442 total fans at Comerica Park in 2025, and most since 2016. And the Tigers have played great baseball all year. Their series against the Guardians is tied at 1-1. How a team leaves 15 runners on base and their bullpen goes to the toilet remains to be seen, but don't blame it on the fans because they put 2,413,442 is pretty good for Comerica. I've always regarded Detroit as one of the best sports towns in the country. Tigers fans and everybody in the Midwest and the Detroit area, that number is backed up. What are your thoughts about those numbers, George?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's the biggest turnout, gate turnout in years. I really think though that um, you know the fact is that they're not hosting this first round, and that's costing the team millions. But that's their own fault. But the fans here, you're right, Scott. They're very loyal. They're very supportive. They buy a lot of Tiger merchandise, as you know, and the ballpark is friendly. It's nice, it's friendly, it's clean, and owner Chris Illich has made some improvements over the last 4 or 5 years in that stadium, which was sorely needed. So yeah, no, I'm all for it. I'm glad they finally got above 2.4. That's wonderful. 2.4 million. Yeah, good fans, loyal fans. You're right.
Marvin?
Yeah, it just reminds you that there are people in Detroit, and as you said, Detroit is a real sports town. It's a lot of people. I would have never thought that they had those kind of numbers. I don't follow. Baseball isn't one of my top sports, and I definitely don't follow Detroit. But that's impressive, especially considering I would think it's I would have never thought that those numbers were in existence for Detroit.
Okay, JJ.
Yeah, this year the Tigers have had a great season overall, and no matter if they're winning or losing, the fans seem to show up well. So that's pretty good for them, and they're a real sports city. And the pitching this year has been really good for them. Tariq Skubal has really turned it around and had that triple crown campaign, and I think he is the best pitcher in baseball, at least for this year. So it's great to see a city in Detroit which has had a lot of disappointment in sports now have the Lions, who are Super Bowl contenders, and the Tigers, who have really turned it around.
Andy?
So the Tigers were hot early, which really I think helped them with these attendance figures. They actually are 16th in MLB for average attendance for this year. So kind of almost middle of the pack, really. Um, but kudos to them. Like they still have an outdoor stadium, so that is like almost a strike against them because they're not guaranteed a game because they could have rainouts and that, but they got hot early, and that I think really helped spark interest in the team and help their attendance figures. It's too bad they fallen off near the end there, that they didn't have weren't playing better at the end. Let's hope that they have a one game playoff tomorrow, that they can do it there for you guys.
Jacob?
Well, I really, really hope that Detroit does well and they win. And I'm just being very honest on this because between Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens, they're in areas that you normally wouldn't have gotten because you're always thinking they'd go to the Yankees or Dodgers.
Right.
And they're in good areas, good base, and Detroit's good. Pittsburgh's horrible, but I mean Pittsburgh can make changes like ownership, but they can do something like that and get themselves back. But the biggest thing about it is it's good to see this. It's good to see these whatsoever and to be able to get themselves back. And maybe in the future they can be able, because remember, what was it, 06 when they went to the World Series?
12 and 2012 too.
And 2012, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's really good to see those things once in a while because joking aside, we wanted to say, oh, we want to see another Dodgers and Yankees again. I kind of joke online, but it's always nice to see something a little different. It's like even if the ratings aren't going to go so well, I mean, it probably won't. It's just they probably won't just because they're always looking for casuals. Casuals want the people that they know. But it'd be really, really nice to see say Detroit and the Cubs.
I think we
just put those right there.
Seattle, Milwaukee.
No.
Yeah.
well, many wanted that series back in 1984, but the Padres put a dent in that one. We'll leave it at that.
Exactly.
All right, but yeah, no, it's good to see 2.4 million in there for sure. All right, we'll go to one more Detroit topic. We'll go to a station break after that. The one that Marvin's been waiting for, anyways. I know he's waiting for some big bomb to be dropped. This is nothing big as what you had to deal with last week. The Lions were criticized for not acknowledging podcaster Charlie Kirk. The Lions, of course, there were a bunch of other teams were, but they were singled out too. That they didn't charge Charlie. All right, Marvin.
I don't see why an NFL organization has any duty to acknowledge anything outside of their own organization and what's good for them. This is again, I didn't know who this person was until he was killed, and rest in peace. And thoughts go out to his family. Because that's really the first thing I thought. The guy was so young. I know he had I saw he had a young wife. But I just don't understand why they have why it's an issue that an organization chooses not to. Now, if they wanted to, the team is privately owned. They could do the owners could do what they want to do. But I don't see it as an issue. And it's not, again, this is someone who I understand now, when he was alive, it was controversy. So if you die in the midst of controversy, you still have people on one side who loved you when you were alive and people who are on the other side of that as well. That doesn't change when you pass away. Those people still exist and they stay in those zones of liking you or not liking you. So it wasn't like he was universally loved. He has nothing to do with the NFL. I don't know if Detroit is a big, super right-wing town. I would say no, but I don't see the big deal, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll go back to what we talked about last week when we broached the subject. Number one, okay, I didn't know who he was either until this unfortunate tragedy took place. And I'll say it again, rest in peace to the person. And I know that his wife has to be a single parent, and we'll leave it at that, right? And best off for the children. But keep in mind, the Lions were not only seen out, but there were a bunch of other NFL teams that didn't either. There was a lot that did, but there were a lot that didn't. So they're not alone. But where I got this information was that they were talking about the Lions. If I recall correctly, and maybe Candy will research it, I think Sage Steele made a big deal out of it. Is what I believe she did. That's where I thought I heard it. But there were a bunch of other teams that rebelled against it too. The Lions were just one of the ones that were mentioned. Okay, JJ, what are your thoughts about this? Yeah, unless Marvin, you want to add something?
So I have no comment on politics. I'm not going to discuss any of that. I'm underage anyway, but this is a human life that was taken away, and no matter if you agree or disagree, he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve to die. He had a wife. He had 2 kids, and a human being is worthful and shouldn't have died based on his beliefs. What he tried to do is speak out and share his beliefs. And, he gave an open mic to everyone. Anyone could go up to the mic, say what they thought, and he would debate them. It's not like he, didn't promote freedom of speech. He did. I don't really know policies or politics, but, I saw a lot of his content, and his main base that he targeted was my age. So I've been watching Charlie since 2019, 2018 on a weekly basis. So, I've known him for a while just through content purposes.
Yeah, and you know what, JJ, we don't go that far with this either. I'm bringing it up in a sports reference that the Lions were singled out. Otherwise, this topic doesn't really get talked about a whole lot. Again, keep in mind, JJ, you're on a sports show, but yours truly here. Every once in a while, will throw a curveball appropriate for this time of the year, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Baseball. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Katie.
So, after a Thursday night football showdown between the Washington Commanders and the Green Bay Packers on September 11th, the day after Kirk's death, featured a moment of silence for the activists. A league decision, according to an NFL statement. Teams hosting games on Sunday were left to decide for themselves whether to honor him in similar fashion. The Titans, Chiefs, Cowboys, Cardinals, Dolphins, Saints, and Jets all did so. The Vikings, Steelers, Colts, Bengals, Lions, and Ravens did not. The Steelers did hold their American flags at half-staff, observing a Trump order about flags on public grounds, which some state and local officials meanwhile ignored. On Monday night, the Houston Texans marked a moment of silence for victims of violence without naming Kirk by name, while the Las Vegas Raiders made no reference, veiled or otherwise, to the issue. I'm kind of getting. I understand the NFL and most of the teams, almost all of them, are privately owned. I get that, so they can make statements if they want or not. But sports is separate from politics, and I get it's a platform. Do I think that that's the right platform to acknowledge? I think depending on how they did it is good or bad. I think trying to polarize the country is what's wrong, and trying to segregate people into different categories is what's wrong. If they want us, say be against all violence, I get it. And that I'm going to just leave it at that.
Jacob.
I'll say the reason that this is such a big battle right now, and I'm just going to bring this part, is I was reading a story, and I can say that this is just one example. I was reading up a story about a lady that went into a city council in Dearborn, talking about the call to prayer for the Muslims at about 5 a.m. in the morning, and all that kind of stuff, and the big controversy it caused. And she got absolutely lambasted over it. Some called her racist, some called her xenophobic, some called her all this. And so when there's such a divided deal out there, and it's like, when they're saying that and they're allowing this with people, some of them come into the country illegally, and some of them did not. And they allowed this part, but then you can't do this with Charlie. I'm not saying what's right or wrong with this. I'm saying that's where a lot of this with Michigan is gone, is you have something in Dearborn right now that's going on with that. So there's going to be that fight whatsoever. But really, by itself, the reason that they would say you can decide it on your own is because it was pretty much almost 50-50 on who was going to do it and who wasn't.
Right.
And remember, Penn State did it. They gave out 5,000 Freedom shirts, the one he died in, over in the Penn State during the whiteout. So it was just people, they just made their decision.
George?
Yeah, and as far as I know, the only two people that could answer this question are the owner, Sheila Fordham, and of course the president of operations, Rod Wood. Yeah, I mean, in a real world, we're all together on this and every team does it, but we're not in that space right now. We know that. So we're not going to have unanimity on the moment of silence. I do know that the teams that did it obviously reached a consensus somehow and how that was handled. But even though he was not an elected official, it was still a terrible, terrible. In fact, it was an assassination. That's what they called it. And of course, when we had assassinations for any number of people, but they were more prominent, I guess, or whatever. Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., and John Kennedy come to mind. Those all had moments of silence. But again, Charlie was not an elected official. That could be some of the thinking, but I'm not upset about it. Yeah.
Well, again, I'll reiterate one last time. We go to the station break after this. It's a sports topic. They were talked about it, and that's why it's on this show. Again, rest in peace, Charlie. More importantly, I wish the family well. Seeing a single parent is a tough situation, and that's where I'm with Erica Kurt on that, at least. All right, station break time, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morgenroth, with the foreword written by another panelist, Mr. George Eichhorn. Talks about Scott's 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved, old school media versus new school media. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There is also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. where there's a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. One last very important thing. If you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you haven't subscribed to us yet. What are you waiting for? Just do it. Click it, like it, share us, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified anytime we go live. Back to you, Scott.
All right, on to our featured topic of the night. Why would I come up with a headline like this? From Wendy's to the NFL? Really? Seriously, really? Yes, Ryan Fitzpatrick is the guy I'm talking about. Former NFL star quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick worked at Wendy's for 2 weeks. Get this, people, before he was reportedly fired. He was fired. Donald Trump, I know you use the word pretty well. Okay. But Ryan allegedly gave a bun without a burger in it and complained to management about this. Fitz went on to Harvard and became one of the greatest 7th rounders, people. Now, he had a pretty good career everywhere, okay? And now he's on Thursday Night Football, Amazon Prime. Can't see him doing a Wendy's commercial, though. What are your thoughts about this, JJ?
Yeah, Fitzy's a great guy. The whole Wendy's thing and fired after 2 weeks. I wasn't aware of that situation, so I'm probably not the best to give you insight on that. However, I could
We
speak
don't
on.
need insight once in a while, little buddy. We need opinions. We don't need, you don't have to be an encyclopedia of information every time. Opinions work on this show. That's why it's a wide open affair. I'm kidding with you. This is how we
I,
do
I,
things.
yeah, based on what you said, if I had to give an opinion, I mean, if he did something wrong at Wendy's and deserved it, I don't see why it would be wrong of them. But as an opinion for me about his career, he's just an all-around great guy. Got the chance to speak with him, and he's a guy who towards when I first started getting into sports, at 7, 8 years old, he was still in the league and still a veteran and was talked about a lot as that guy who is on 13 NFL teams. Now he has a great career, and I take a lot of inspiration from him on Thursday Night Football. But yeah, I don't want to, I'm not too aware on the Wendy's thing, so I'll let someone else take that.
All right, well, burger, that's okay. He didn't have a burger in a bun. He was upset about it. Well, that's okay. I don't think he's doing Wendy's commercials. Marvin?
Hey, I love these kind of stories, man. Stories of guys who persevered and had a little drama or trauma or just ups and downs in life, and was working fast food, and now this guy's sitting on a desk doing Thursday Night Football after having made millions and millions of dollars. I love it for the guy. I do. Low draft pick, low chance of making a roster coming out the Ivy League. And the guy persevered 16 years. It's tough, man. It's tough to stay focused, and have to fight and travel. And he has a wife and kids. And, you love those stories, man. I do. And it's great for anybody, any young people out there right now, who working in fast food opportunities, who aspire for more. So kudos to him. And I appreciated his time when he was in New York.
George?
Yeah, without knowing all the particulars, I mean, about being fired or let go, it is really difficult for anybody that, loses their job in the NFL, for example. What am I going to do now? What am I going to do next? So I applaud him for going and being hired by Wendy's and flipping burgers for however couple of weeks, I think you said.
No, George, this was before he went to Harvard.
Before he went to Harvard? Okay. Let me put that conversation in the rearview mirror then.
Yeah, good idea.
I don't know. The people at Harvard, the people at Wendy's, there could have been something else beside that, but I don't think it's a big thing. I really don't. I mean, these people are used to coming and going. All the fast foods are, but this guy, I like him because he is a good guy. He's a good quarterback. Well, he's not a great quarterback, but he is a guy that really, really loves the NFL. And obviously his role on television helps him out. So again,
Now, George, that was before he went to Harvard. He got fired because he served a meal
What?
without a burger. And
Yeah.
usually, generally, when was the last time you had a burger, George?
Last week,
And can I ask you what they had in it?
they had cheese and a hamburger. Yes.
Yeah, okay, so you had a bun, okay, you had a burger, and they had cheese. So, in other words, you had a bun, a burger, and cheese. You had all the ingredients, right, George?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, he protested that one of the ingredients wasn't there, and in the eyes of Donald Trump, you're fired. Of course, he went on to Harvard, went to the Ivy League,
Yeah.
and what else can you say, people?
Yeah.
My God, the Ivy League, Amazon Prime, it don't get any, and of course, the NFL doesn't hurt either. All right, George, you get it?
Yes. Thank you for clarifying. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
I had to make sure. I
Yeah.
got a 14-year-old. You have to set a good example for this kid. He's learning and he's doing a good job with his first act there. When he wants to give us all his facts and learn some of the little finer points of the industry, right, JJ? You're learning some of the finer points of this industry?
Oops.
You're muted. Are you learning some of the finer points of this industry, JJ, your first act?
Hey, I'm having trouble with the hearing. It's breaking in and out.
Okay.
You
Are
said
you
finer points.
of this industry, the business, the media,
Are
all
you
the crazy
learning?
stuff?
Are
Are you
you
learning
learning
anything?
things from us?
From you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you guys have had a lot of analysis, a lot of questions that I wasn't aware of, and I've definitely learned a lot. And, a lot of what you guys have said has really resonated and made a lot of sense. And some of the vocab you're using and specific terms and analogies, I really am learning about and making sure that I remember to utilize them in future episodes and podcasts. So I'm definitely learning from you guys. You guys have been on point on a lot of stuff, and all of you guys have done an excellent job so far throughout the show.
So as far as you're concerned, in the eyes of Karen Carpenter, we've only just begun. All right, Candy, go ahead. You know who Karen Carpenter is as a Carpenters?
Not in the least.
Don't worry about it. That's okay. I'm learning a lot about you tonight. That's okay. A lot of good things. All right, Candy, what are your thoughts about the Wendy's controversy?
So I'd be really surprised if he was fired for just that. First of all, he has admitted that it happened on his watch. He did not claim responsibility because let's face it, when you're in the fast food industry, there's one person cooking the burger, there's one person assembling, there's one person packaging it, especially back like when we're talking, because we're talking this was years ago. This was not like, oh yeah, there's computers that are making all these and assembling all of these days. So was he responsible? Was he the manager on duty? I mean, if he was only working there 2 weeks, I'd be hard pressed to think that he was responsible for the whole thing. But again, I'd be surprised if this was the only reason he got let go for. There's normally you have warnings. There's like other things that would have to have taken place in order to warrant a firing. But hey, you never know. Wendy's can do what Wendy's wants to do.
Okay. Well, I still like their chili. All right, Jacob.
Yeah. I worked at Wendy's. I've worked at everything. Did I take the, I mean, especially in fast food. Let me say this part here. For the amount, this is a guy who was a quarterback in every level, high school, college, especially the Ivy League and the NFL. That's a leader. For somebody like that, then he went to Harvard. He went to all this stuff. Wendy's would not be anywhere near what he would, his type of place to work in the first place. Let me say this. He's looking for leaders. When you're a quarterback, your coach is your leader. You're looking for leaders. You want to know? I can name one fast food guy that could be a leader. A true leader, and his name is Junior Bridgman, and he ended up owning 320 Wendy's.
Wow.
Yeah. Outside of that, but vast majority of fast food, I'm just going to say it. It's just honesty. Vast majority of fast food managers are losers. He isn't going to listen to them. He had the high-end, high-quality coaches to listen to, be a sport. So it's just the truth. He isn't going to listen to that. He's going to shut them right down. especially when I know these type of managers and everything. They scream all the time. They try to, I mean, they tried to scream. They try to look tough. They tried all that kind of stuff, and he just kind of laugh at them. So he probably had an obnoxious streak to him a mile wide that got him fired in the first place, and I don't blame him.
All right, well, you know what? Time to go to and the basketball. Before I do that, I'm going to go to one more non-sports topic. Before I do that, and then we're going to really finish up on a flurry with some NBA stuff. The Telegram founder plans to leave 17 billion fortune to his 106 children. Yes, people, 106 children. That makes Sean Alexander look small at 14. Okay, but here's the thing. Pavel Durov's children came from 6 personal relationships, 100 born anonymously across 12 countries. None will see a dime until 2055, people, as Durov insists they grow up self-reliant, not spoiled by wealth. 2055. I know where I'll be in 2055 and won't be doing this stuff. But what do you think, JJ? I think you're going to be a dynamite sportscaster, graduated from Syracuse or wherever you want to go. 2055. I'll be up in heaven watching you do it, knowing you just started here. What do you think about this, Pavel Durov, and his intention to wait to 2055 for all 100 children? Surreal, isn't it?
It definitely is surreal, 100%. And as you mentioned, hopefully I'm alive by then. Another 30 years till now. So
like your odds better than mine.
It's great that he's helping out. And, as you mentioned, I hope to be, in the media industry as a professional, then on sportscasting on TV. But I'll remember, you giving me the opportunity always, and the fact that I get to speak to everyone here who gives such great analysis and great opinions overall. So again, I want to thank you for that opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. You've been great on your first day. No, we're going to end it with NBA after we get done. Then we'll wrap it up at the end. What are your thoughts, Marvin? Okay, about
Man,
that?
this dude has 160 something kids. This guy was busy,
Wow.
right? He was busy. Look, I respect the fact that this guy wants his kids to have some type of work ethic and have goals and dreams and go out there and get their, take care of their own life and build their own life and create their own life. I respect that, especially, JJ's an anomaly. This young man is so impressive. But my thought is that most young people don't have the drive in the real discipline that JJ has here. So I respect the fact that this guy wants to make sure that all these kids, all these people that he's created, find purpose and meaning in life. I get it. I do. I'm also wondering if maybe that's harsh considering, what kind of life, what kind of father can you really be to 160 people? You know what I mean? What kind of impact can you have? Well, if you got $17 billion, I think that's the number you said, you can have a lot of impact. I don't know. It's a surreal topic, to be honest with you. But I respect, he has, this guy has a way of thinking, and he's old school with his thoughts, and he wants his kids to build their own life. I get it. Do it the old American way. Start at Wendy's and build your way up, just like Fitzpatrick.
And I love the way you're tying. Boy, you're getting better on every show when you started tying those topics.
Learn from you and JJ, Scott. Learn from you
I'm
and
telling you,
JJ.
JJ, by the way, get ready next Wednesday night to tell your story. I'm going to leave you the first 5 minutes to let everybody know your story. Everybody wanted to get to know you tonight and get an idea how you're going to handle these topics. They're going to give you a segment all to yourself, little buddy. So at least that's the only thing you'll be prepared to do, while everybody else will be guessing what I'm going to throw out there. Icorn won't be on this show next week. He'll be on Fire Up next Thursday night for sure. I can rest assured that he'll be on baseball. All right, George, what are your thoughts about this Telegram guy and all that money that he can hand out to his kids at 2055, even though the odds are, I know I'm not going to be here. Alzheimer's going to wipe me out way further than that. But that's still a pretty good gesture, isn't it?
Oh, definitely is. And as far as the wait goes, that is a lot longer than I ever heard that you would wait. But like you were kind of alluding to, Marvin, the kids, he's not going to give it to them on a silver platter. He obviously wants to wait and see, and hopefully they're advancing in their own livelihood, their own careers maybe that was part of his decision. But boy, that's very generous of him, and it really is something that I hope these young people, or however age they are grateful for his gift to them. And that's the important thing, have a good attitude, be grateful. And even though you got to wait till 2025, or I mean,
55.
55. That's all right. That's
50,
tongue tie anybody.
55. Oh my God. Yeah, that's a long wait, but hey, better late than never. But they got to really plan their future, not based on just that gift money, but what else they're going to do with their life and career.
Candy, no research to do on this. Opinion will work.
I understand. From the woman's side of it, 106 kids. Are you kidding me? What kind of a job do you have to be able to support 106 kids? Like that just blows my mind. Just and also, like Marvin said, how much time can you invest in each of these kids? That's where I feel bad for the kids, because you need to support them monetarily and have an impact in their life. I don't know, with 106 kids, how you can effectively be in their lives and support them. And granted, I don't know if they all live in the same city or if they go to the same school, but like, how do you support them? Like, if they're playing sports, and they could be all over. I don't know. I have a hard time with that one.
Jacob.
2055, huh? Was one of his kids Allen Iverson? Seriously,
Right.
though. But the biggest thing about it is, this sounds like he also wants. There's also grandkids out there somewhere, and he wants to be able to protect them more than he does the kids. And he hopes the kids will be around, and they be able to make their own way. But by itself, all I think about is 160 kids, and but think about this right now. Tyreek Hill just broke his leg, so he's got time now. He's got time to catch up to that. But no, really by itself, it's like, this is what that is. I mean, in itself, in a certain way, Warren Buffett's doing the same thing. He's telling his kids, you're going to get a certain amount, and 99% is going to go to charity, and it's going to Bill Gates' charity. So there's that, So, there's an Americanized version. There's that version.
Okay. Well, here's a topic that's a little disturbing for me, but I'm going to mention it anyways because it's a media topic. One that I'm not happy about. Local news reporter turns himself in for Rolex theft. Michael Hudak turned himself in stealing his neighbor's $16,000 Rolex. His neighbor gave him a spare key in case of emergency because he had left for Spain for 2 weeks. Hudak pawned it and with his own ID. He's a reporter for WSVN ABC Channel 7 in Miami. This is annoying. Sorry, this was maybe a little over your head too, JJ, but unfortunately, maybe this industry doesn't pay a lot. I don't know what was going through this guy's head when he did it. And he talks about the Rolex media guy that will find himself not living in his own apartment if indeed bigger charges are brought against him.
Yeah, if he turned himself in, at least he's admitting the mistake that he made and understanding that it's wrong, and at least it was most likely returned if he did that. But as you mentioned, some people need to have these things, and if the industry and their job doesn't give them the financial means to want to have that, then I can't say I understand it. I think it's horrible that he would steal someone else's Rolex, and I don't understand why you steal a Rolex. If you're just going to turn yourself in, you might as well just steal it overall. But yeah, he turned himself in, so at least he's admitting the mistake. I think it's a horrible thing. As you mentioned, it's $17,000 or $18,000 of someone else's material, and that's something they bought and worked very hard for. So it should be theirs, and they shouldn't have to worry on if someone else is going to steal it from them.
Marvin?
Just think about, in our culture, the relationship you have with the person who you give a spare key to, the trust you have in them, and the comfort that you have, and knowing that you have that kind of person in your life. And then they go in and do something stupid like this, and it's just, makes you just want to stay in the house and not deal with these human beings at all, right? It's so just demoralizing and defeating when someone just betrays your trust like that. And it's unfortunate, you know, the idea that there was a little bit of accountability here and that he acknowledged his wrongdoing, turning himself in. All right, that's cute. You know, we'll consider that a sentencing, I guess, or however he's penalized. But this is really unfortunate, man, and it's just one more unfortunate example of some of the bad things we got to deal with out here with these human beings.
George.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that doesn't make sense to me. He had a career in broadcasting, like you said, Scott,
Right.
the local stations in Miami. And really, it was dumb. I'm sorry, it was dumb for you to think that A, you could get away with it, and B, that it wouldn't cost, that it could even cost you your job. I had a friend recently, real quick, and he did something very similar. He was gone for a while from his house, and he gave the key to the next door neighbor boy. And sure enough, stuff was missing. So it's not that uncommon, but it is very sad. And especially, like you said, Scott, in the news media, you're there to report news. As the saying goes, you're not here to make news, but this guy certainly did with that Rolex. Shame, shame.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. When I read,
Yeah.
but again, I have to get it up there. It's part of our industry that is what happened. And JJ, the lesson to be learned, it's called the right to know. And that's where I come up with these topics. It is the right to know whether they're good, bad, or ugly. It's a right to know, and that's what we aim to do here on the network: is to inform and educate and entertain. And those are valuable lessons, JJ, you're going to get as time goes on. Candy.
So the victim and Hudak were neighbors for 6 months. Hudak had a spare key to his neighbor's apartment for emergencies. The theft occurred in July of 2025 while the victim was on a 2-week vacation in Spain. After he returned, the neighbor discovered his Rolex was missing despite no signs of forced entry. The watch was eventually traced to a local pawn shop where records show Hudak had used his Florida ID to pawn it for $7,000. According to the arrest report, the victim was shown a text message from Hudak admitting to the theft. He surrendered to police on August 28th of 2025 and was charged with felony counts of grand theft and burglary of an unoccupied dwelling. You know, I mean, come on, you knew it was wrong. Why even do it? Like, there are a lot of jobs that once they learn that you have been charged with a felony, you're done. You're done. You're fired. It's just the way it is. And obviously, he was desperate for something. He must have needed some money for whatever reason. And that's not coming out. It's sad. But in the same breath, I'd be hard pressed after I knew somebody for only 6 months to be giving them a key to my house. Nowadays, when there's so much identity theft, so much, and not just theft of your possessions, but there's identity theft and everything
Right.
that you have to be so careful about. So, I don't. Like I said, I wouldn't do it after 6 months.
I agree. Jacob, I think it's stupid. I'm glad he's going to pay the price with charges. Jacob's got the last word. And we're going to end it with a flurry of NBA topics and pundit. We will have time to get everything in there, the stuff I have going forward. JJ, I know you can easily participate in these. Okay, so hang with us. All right, you're doing a great job. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah. The thing is, we have to ask why these people do this. It's like the ones that would look like that they have some kind of wealth or they're fine with their money. I mean, I've heard things from Winona Ryder years ago for shoplifting, which this is right in the middle of her career. You hear these you hear these stories all the time. You hear these NFL players, some of them NFL, and some of the college players with an NIL, sticking people up. At this point, I mean, all that goes up. It's not like that they needed money. At this point in time, it's a mental illness.
Right.
And it's like in this guy's case, how do we know? And you brought up a good point, Candy. How do we know that you didn't have a gambling problem. Remember, there's already a certain one in Detroit right now who got his checks pulled and everything like that because he had a gambling problem.
Right.
And it's like, how do we know that? I mean, they make the money, but do they keep the money? And
Right.
it's like, and they get themselves desperate. And it's like, and it really, a lot of it is just a mental illness. And a lot of it they get in over their head. That's just what it is.
Okay. On to some NBA stuff. Would you like a new owner in with the Knicks, Marvin? Are you a Knicks fan?
To a degree. Again, my loyalty is to LeBron and them Lakers. But yeah, growing up between LA and New York, I absolutely did root for the Knicks back in the day when they had Patrick Ewing, and we absolutely need a new owner without question.
Okay, good. This topic definitely for you. Okay, I was hoping you would say that. So, coming from Magic Johnson. Okay, if James Dolan ever puts the Knicks up for sale, I will be the first in line. This comes from Magic Johnson. Would you be a Knicks fan if Magic Johnson owned it?
Absolutely. I think Magic knows exactly how to run an organization. I think he's been involved as an executive. He's been involved as a head coach, obviously as a player. He's had relationship with the owner, and he understands the inner workings of a team. He understands culture. He understands winning. Hopefully, if that were to happen, he would just be able to find a GM that he would trust. But I would absolutely be way more inclined to follow the Knicks and get some Knicks merchandise if Irvin Magic Johnson was the owner of that team.
JJ?
Yeah, so as someone who was born in New York and lived my first 8 years of my life there, I do have ties to that. And yeah, the franchise, the team is probably the most famous in all of the NBA, the most famous arena. In terms of the ownership situation, the Celtics just sold for $6 billion. And some may argue that the Knicks may sell for more. And looking at, Magic's net worth right now and his salary as of September 30th, 2025, it says he has $1.4 billion, noting that the Celtics just sold for $6 billion. You don't know if he's going to want to do that, if he has the means to do that. I would look for more of a, guy who we can 100% assure can buy them. But yeah, I think he'd be a great owner. He's a great guy. He knows the game of basketball better than anyone else. And I think the Knicks, might need new ownership for sure.
George?
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult to comprehend that Celtics sale so much money. My goodness. And but if the guy is, if they're all vetted, very vetted, if you will, the NBA is very good about that. And the Knicks seem to be stuck in this, same kind of mode that a lot of teams are. First round, okay, got to the second round after you beat Detroit this past season. But I really am not close enough to say that the owner has been that bad, but I know you are, Marvin, and I will definitely agree that the change of ownership in this situation would help. I think it would help the Knicks. They just got to get to that next level.
Yeah, they do. And he has to
Andy?
go.
With the history that he's had in this league, I would definitely say he should be an owner, and I would support that wholeheartedly, even though I am not a Knicks fan.
Jacob?
Dolan's horrible, so yeah, they need a change. Here's the thing with Magic, though. Just a little piece of this. Magic and Larry grew up together. Basically played together, then retired together. They had their rivalry.
Right.
But let me say this part. Larry knew how to piece things together, within, as far as being like a president, a GM, and all that stuff. Magic doesn't. Magic's a tremendous owner. He's a tremendous owner, meaning he can be able to hire the right people. He's done great with the Dodgers in his partial ownership. He's done great with the Commanders. He's done all these. Wonderful. But as a coach, horrible. As any kind of president or GM, horrible. It's like he can be able to hire the right people, and he's a charmer. Right. He's the big smile, and he's a charmer. So he can go get the right people to be able to do the job. But make sure it's ownership that he can get the right people. Don't let it be any more than that.
Okay, one more basketball thing, and then we're going to yes and no basketball. Then we go to pundit pundit. Ray Allen said Celtics mistreatment led to his move to the Miami Heat. I understand where you're placing my value. Once they started signing everybody else, they pushed me down, and I can see it. They're not calling me back, and they're saying we're going to wait and do your contract. You're not going to placing any value on me to get anything done. All right. Well, that sounds like a guy, JJ, that didn't feel like he was appreciated with Boston, came to Miami. What are your thoughts about Ray Allen?
That's a guy who was way before my generation, so I probably don't have the best idea on him. I'm more of a modern guy. So I
Okay.
don't feel like I'm good to speak on him.
No big deal. Okay, Marvin.
JJ from the Steph Curry era. Listen, Ray Allen, one of the greatest shooters in the history of the game, without question. He was considered elite during his day, and he's somebody who is relevant without question. Ultimately, I think they did push him out. I think he kind of wore out his welcome a little bit. It seems like a lot of those guys in Boston are still united and stayed cool, and he was the odd man out. So it kind of tells you it may have been him being the issue. I don't know, but he was a hell of a player. Hit one of the most iconic shots in Miami Heat history.
George.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely smells of him being pushed out. I've always liked him as a ball player. I mean, he's very talented, good shot selection, and I really think that Ray Allen, it sounds like he got the short end of the stick. But like you said, Marvin, we don't know the whole situation. We don't know everything, but yeah, I think that he's got a right to complain.
Candy.
Oh, I love Ray Allen. He was a Milwaukee Buck for years. He played with the Bucks from 96 to 2003. Then he was traded to Seattle, and in that trade was Gary Payton, if you all remember. Um, it was determined they thought that Ray Allen had kind of a contentious relationship with Coach George Karl at the time, and that was probably why he was dealt. But he was a great shooter, all around shooter. He could put it up wherever he was on the court, especially around the 3-point line. But was he moved on and pushed out? I'm guessing, yeah. I mean, that was near the end of his career too. Like he started with the Bucks back in '96, so he had already been in the league for how many years at that point as well.
Jacob.
Ray Allen was picked. Ray Allen's situation was just the fact that he was in the quote unquote wrong era. Because if he was on the Celtics in this era where they shoot 972 threes a game, they would have thought about him first. They really would have, because this is the 3-point era. So that's what they did by itself there. They're looking at him as basically a cog, and the main man was like, what was that? Kevin Garnett, and all those guys. And he's the main guy of the three. And then that's what they were thinking. Here now, Ray Allen would be the megastar. It's a 3-point shooter. He was a phenomenal 3-point shooter. But they said I was making a little bit of an exclamation there, but they shoot 900 threes a game. He'd be right in this era right now, right up there. So the big thing about this is, but I mean, by itself, but something, he helped Miami. And it's like, you can't go back, and I don't think he wants to.
Well, bottom line, I feel like he was disrespected in Boston. That's why I went to Miami and his career, so to speak, and we'll leave it at that. All right, real quick question, pundit, and you know what, JJ, if we get a minute, I want you to tell your story at the end of the show. I think it's something a lot of people will be impressed. Okay, Bill, we brought you on here. You've been really polite. I know there's some topics that are a little bit before your time, but you've handled them really well. What was it you've been able to do, and you definitely bring a breath of fresh air and youth to this show, something that it certainly is glad to have now. All right, so with the final NBA topic of the night, Kendrick Perkins says Rajon Rondo should make the Hall of Fame if Reggie Miller and Chauncey Billups did. I hope nobody takes this with disrespect. Okay, we'll start off with you, Jacob. You think Rondo belongs in the Hall of Fame, yes or no?
It's the first and only time I'm going to believe in Kendrick Perkins. It's like, yeah, I'm going to believe in that because my main thing is he was an absolute hustler, an old school hustler from the time, and I'm absolutely for that. But I mean, take a look at this timestamp right now. We're at about 10:53 of this era, like 10:1, and and this will be the last time that I'm going to believe in anything Kendrick Perkins says.
It's pretty good. Okay, well, you have a pundit's pundit, but okay. You know what? I'm kind of with you. I'll say what I have to say. I agree with you, and it is the last time that I'll agree with anything that Kendrick Perkins. So you got two out of the way. Candy, yes or no? Do you think he belongs in?
I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, he played from 2006 to 2022, but he only scored 9,337 points. We just talked about Ray Allen, and I know that we said Ray Allen was a shooter, but Ray Allen, he scored 24,505 points.
Okay.
That's going to be my. So I'm on the fence with whether Rondo deserves to be in the Hall of Fame or not.
I'm only going to say yes because he's won championships. George,
Yeah, I would say yes. I think he is he should be elected. Maybe not without a lot of further vetting, but the fact of the matter is he did have a very nice career in the NBA. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think he should be.
Marvin,
I think the Hall of Fame is for the very, very best, not the very, very good. But with that said, the NBA lets everybody in. I feel like everybody gets into the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. And you're right. If they're going to let Chauncey in and let Reggie Miller in, even though Reggie I think was a different caliber player. When you first asked the question, my answer was no. But as I heard people speak and I thought about it, particularly Jacob, absolutely Ronald should be in.
JJ, you have any opinion on this?
Yeah, I think he should definitely be in the Hall of Fame, winning 2 NBA titles and his playmaking ability. He led the assists 3 times in 2012, 2013, 2016. And right now, what is the NBA missing? It's missing a lot of defense, and defense played, and he played defense a lot. He's a 4-time defensive team. And that shows a lot of defensive toughness and not the fact that he just wants to score himself, because he play makes a lot and gets his teammates involved with him, being a 3-time assist leader and then also playing very tough defense. And then also he was a 4-time NBA All-Star.
Great stuff. Look at this kid. Gives it to you. Good
So,
stuff.
So can I just add, Marvin, you talked about a lot of people get into the NBA Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
There's actually been over 4,800 players have appeared in at least one game in NBA's history, and only 3% are actually in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. I feel like everybody gets in. I do.
I understand.
Well, baseball only 1% get in, so 3 is better than 1.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Okay,
well,
Danny.
okay.
Thank
Great
you.
information all the way around. All right, pundit, Jacob. I know you're waiting. Thanks for your patience. Timestamp 10:56. We're getting near the end, anyways. And then, time permitting, I want JJ to give a couple minutes about his background for you young people. This kid's an inspiration. Looking forward to having him on Wednesday night. Now that he's been, I have to make sure some of these topics are a little bit closer to what he's able to do. But now I know what I have, and I know how I have to construct shows going forward with JJ on. Great first act, though, kid. All right, go ahead, Jacob, pundit.
JJ, this is you. This is best pundits for you tonight. This is a little thing I wanted to tell you about. I'm very impressed with you. Very impressed. The knowledge that you have and all that kind of stuff. And I'm happy to see you there, what you're doing. To understand why I'm this impressed and stuff is because at 6 years old, I got into sports. Okay. I absorbed all of it. I absorbed all of it. I was like, by 8 years old, I was doing Oakland. I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, and I was doing Oakland A's 1970s the starting lineups in my head. I was kind of the circus act at every place I would go, which my brother loved, and my dad drove him nuts. I don't think he wanted the circus act for his son. But you want to know what I didn't do? Like you did? You're working. You're put in the extra You put in the extra mile. I did it late in life. So I'm proud of you. I want you to know that. Now, I want to give you a little piece of advice, though, here. As you get older, as you get into this world, and it's like, this is a very divided world. Be independent and true to yourself. That's the first step that it's going to be whatsoever. Don't follow anybody's deal. I always have a saying that I was talking about today. There are the people that follow their way, or they're the people that run their own business or follow their own way, and then there's the cattle. There's just the workers that do what I'll just say it for this world. They're the ones that do what the editors want. I call it, they do what they want. Like, they do what the person wants to say at Wendy's. We'll bring that up. They do everything they want. They're waiting for the boss to say something. That's what I call cattle, and they're ready to be slaughtered. You are something special with what you're doing, not only having the knowledge, the same amount of knowledge as I had, but you work. And I'm proud of you for that. And I'm very proud of you for that. The biggest piece of it, well, I gave you that one piece of advice. The other piece of advice I can say is the one thing I do every morning is I check emails, because I have everything on emails. Everything from sports business to regular business to, I mean, I'm not kidding you. This is a joke. This is funny, but Chinese banking. Everything. I learn everything. Learn everything. Number one, me and Marvin right over here, by the way. Marvin, I've met him already, and we met at a little party of his that he set up for the NFLPA. Find every one of those places. Find every one of those places. Go to them. Shake hands. Be charming, because I know you can be. You got over here, and you did well with all of us.
Well,
So,
you know what, Jacob? I'm proud of you for doing a pundit when you could have talked about anything and talked about him. Good stuff to you, and I'm glad you have my book, and I'm looking forward to autographing his. All right, for the next 2 minutes or so, 2.5 minutes, we don't have much time. JJ, the floor is yours. Now that you've won, you have 5 new friends here. I want you to give everybody a brief overview of what you've done, when you started, where you're at, and we have about 2 or 3 minutes, and Candy will do. So now the floor is yours. Whatever you did say earlier, say it now, but in your version of who you are, and really introduce yourself.
Well, first off, Jacob, thank you so much for the advice. I'll definitely take that into account for sure, and definitely, really appreciate the kind words about actually working at this age. And I'll definitely make sure, check my email, learn as much as I can, and meet and make as many connections, whether it's at a party or whatever it is, with as many people as possible. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that a lot, and I really will take that into account. And again, this was a lot of fun coming on today's show. So I had a lot of fun learning and talking. So yeah, so to get into my story, as Jacob said, when he was young, when he was 6, he loved sports. And I loved sports just as much as him. And, when I see my parents, they start a work week on Monday, they're not enthusiastic. They're not excited to go to work. And that's because I don't think that they love their job. So when I'm older, what I wanted to do is be able to love my job. And I want to find something that I love. And when I was 10 years old, as Scott said, I wanted to do something that I was passionate about, and I've always loved sports. So why not talk about sports, and why not create my own podcast? So I created my own podcast at the age of 10, and I wanted to talk about FAU because they were the local team here to Boca Raton, Florida, and it was very easy to be able to go to games, and at the time I was going as a fan. So I did that for about a year, and an FAU media site called FAU Owl's Nest, they saw the podcast, they picked it up, they said, hey, we love you to write for us, we'd love you to podcast for us. And from there, everything really took off in my career. I started getting credentials for them. I got a job with Dolphins Talk, where now I'm credentialed for them. And I grew my own social media page through that. And then when FAU made the Final Four, I got a credential to go to that. And that's when, my page started doing very well. So that's overall how it started. And I've gotten, a plethora of other opportunities throughout my few years. And I'm taking every chance that I get. I've also, something that really sparked my interest is going to yearly summer sports broadcasting camps, which are a lot of fun, and I get an opportunity to experience reps live on camera. And what I'm trying to do now is put my name out there, get as much experience as I possibly can, and talk about what I love to do. Because when I'm older, I want to do something that I love. And this is really what I love and what my passion is. And I want to continue to do this when I'm older. So the fact, Scott, that you're giving me this opportunity means so much to me. And again, I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you being on. You're going to get to know JJ Metz every Wednesday night, Sports Exchange, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Candy, go ahead, give us one last station break. We'll whip around the horn. Well, before we do that, everybody, Jacob, let everybody know how they get a hold of you. We'll whip around the horn. Candy will end it. We have about 2.5 minutes to get this puppy wrapped up. Go ahead, Jacob.
I'm Jacob Christner on Facebook, Sideline One Sports on TikTok. I'm Jacob Christner _ on Instagram. I also do a little bit of scripts here and there, and do a little bit of writing when I get the chance if I'm not busy.
Great stuff. George Eichhorn.
Yes, you can follow me on the South Florida Tribune under the contributors section. And there's a little note at the bottom about my book, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. If you're interested in pursuing that, you reach me best at geichhorn@yahoo.com or SanGSports99 on X or Twitter.
Marvin.
Marvin Potter III, Marvin on the mic is my handle. You can reach me here with Scott Tuesday evenings and Wednesday evenings. I'm on Lockdown USC Monday and Friday. You can catch me with USCJ on Saturday.
There you go, JJ. And you
Yeah,
know me.
I actually saw Marvin last week on Mark's show, Locked On USC. He was
Good.
telling me that they'd have no problem with Illinois. I saw that episode a bit ago without knowing you were on this. But yeah, make sure you follow all of them. You can find me at JJMetsFAU on X, and that's my primary source of posting. So thank you.
There you. And JJ, now you're teammates with Marvin Wednesday nights. Candy, take us the rest of the way.
Great job, JJ.
Good job, Cal. I'm proud of you, kid.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and it was written by George Eichhorn. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. One last thing, if you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified when we go live. We want to thank everybody that was in the chat room. I want to thank all the contributors. And JJ, welcome to the team and the family. Glad to have you here. You did a great job.
Yeah, you did. Jay's going to contribute as a writer, and of course, I'm going to be bringing him on a lot of shows. Wednesday night will be the regular night on Wednesday, and I may bring him on some other shows. So watch out. We have a rising star here on the network with JJ Metz, and he was outstanding. I'm glad everybody was able to gravitate to this young guy. And I'm telling you, JJ, we are proud of you, and I hope you enjoyed your initial experience. But take this show, and don't worry. Now, like Marvin had to deal with last week, now he's prepared for anything, and now you got your first taste of it. But I'm proud of you, kid. But I knew you were good Saturday night. Now I have witnesses, people. Really? Seriously? Really? Yes, I got witnesses. This kid's good. Really, really good. That does it. See you next Wednesday night on the Sports Exchange. On behalf of Jacob, Candy, George, Marvin, and JJ, this is Scott Morgan Russell, City Man. Well, thank you. Have a good night. And we'll see you for tomorrow night's program and on Saturday. Enjoy the playoffs. Bye now.